Okay, great. I just want, with a raise of hand, can you guys confirm you've gotten your the details of your login to the tenant for some of you that entered the attendance last year? I mean, sorry, last week. Did you get the login details? All right, great. Thank you. Thank you, Babajide, for that. So let's go on, please. So our topic for today, like we said, is adopt, extend, and build Copilot experience across the Microsoft Cloud. What we're trying to delve into the innovative Copilot experiences that is available within the Microsoft Cloud. A lot of people have heard about Copilot, and sometimes it gets kind of confusing. Oh, you have this Copilot, you have that one. How come? There is a lot of confusion around it. So but today we'll go through the different Copilot experiences within the Microsoft Cloud. We will also explore how to adopt, extend, and build these experiences to actually enhance our productivity and integration across various Microsoft services. So the three ways really that you can actually consume or interact with Microsoft Copilot is either you adopt, you extend it, and you build, or even the three process: you are adopting, you're extending, or you are building. So our agenda is actually, we'll begin by examining the different Copilot offerings available across the Microsoft ecosystem. What we're not going to do is that we will discuss how to extend the functionality of Copilot through the various tools and integration. And then finally, we will explore methods for building custom Copilot experiences that is tailored to specific business needs. But before we go to that, I'll just run us through our housekeeping rules. This session will be recorded and then will be made available for future viewing. So I know that I can't say, please mute your microphone because already I think you're muted. But if you have any need to talk, please do raise your hand. The moderator is in the Miriam, that is moderating our session. We actually unmute you and then you can talk, or you can actually pen all your questions down until the Q&A session where we'll be able to take questions and I can unmute you myself. So our social media handles, please do follow us. It's quite very important. Most importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channels to keep up to date on all of our events. That is very important. So I don't want to start this session and just go in straight. I just want to have a quick recap of what we discussed last week. So part of what we discuss is around what is artificial intelligence, which we explained that is the ability for a machine to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. Such intelligence that is regarded as perception, like reasoning, like learning, like decision making, and problem solving. So, in a simpler terms, we learn that artificial intelligence describes the capability of machines to mimic human cognitive abilities, and they're able to carry out these activities that will actually require human intelligence. Such activities that will require human intelligence are things like you seeing, thinking, learning, solving problem, understanding natural language. So that is what we find out that today AI can do. So imagine a robot that you can chat with, that can recognize your face or even play a game of chess with you. That's AI at work. So to break it down further, I think Olalekan did last week. The realm of artificial intelligence, if you are aware, has already existed even more than 60 years. It actually started in the 1956. So in recent year, like in few years back, AI has progressed quickly due to the abundance of data. And also when you look at robust computing power that is available today, and also the advancement, sorry, in algorithm and methodologies that people are using to create a lot of these models. So you find that AI has evolved. So I just wanted us to quickly do a recap. And then when we talk about artificial intelligence, one thing you have to bear at the back of your mind that the foundation of artificial intelligence lies in data. So you hear the slang today that is said data is the new oil. It's data is the new currency. So when it comes to artificial intelligence, the foundation lies actually in data, which serve as the essential raw material for the machine learning algorithm to even make use of. So we see that today the AI algorithm utilize this data to understand the patterns, to make predictions, and even enhance their own capability over time. So one of the things you have to bear at the back of your mind is that, which is why when Olalikon was talking last week, he said that um because your data is what AI fits in and fits on. So when you are very bad on structure or on clean data, what the outcome also will not be, will not be um clean enough or efficient enough. So you get it, you have this jingle that is garbage in, garbage out, especially when you enter the prompt into your models, or you want to test your model, you're not getting the right feel because your data is actually not so clean. So it's very important for you to understand that AI feeds on data. So when you some of the foundational technologies of AI we talked about is that AI has employ a lot of sophisticated algorithm approaches to creating machines capable of autonomous decision. But as we know, the foundational technologies of artificial intelligence are what the machine learning, the deep learning, and the natural processing. Those three things are actually the foundational technologies of artificial intelligence. One, the machine learning, the deep learning, and the natural language processing. So, just a quick recap. We talked about machine learning is a method where we teach computers to learn from that data that we feed it into. So instead of programming a computer with specific instruction as what our developer will do, we give it lots of information instead, and then we let it figure out patterns and make decision on its own. That's actually what machine learning is all about. So over time, AI systems self-improve through experiences with those patterns, by learning those patterns without direct programming, so they can learn. So with machine learning, you create software that learns independently by assessing and utilizing data. So you think of machine learning like you are teaching a child to recognize the different kinds of animals. If you see the illustration that Olalekan gave us last week, we talked about how machine learning will recognize, this one is a dog, this one is a cat, this is a puppy, and all of that thing is all about machine learning. Then the other thing around machine learning that he's also part of what AI dwells on is the neural networks, which neural network, like we said, are inspired by the human brain. They consist of interconnected nodes, like neurons that process information. So one of the things that artificial intelligence also dwell on is what his neural network. So an example is that it's able to recognize space. One layer might look at the edges, another layer might look at the shape of the face, and another at the colors and all of that. So it begins to bring all of those learnings together, and the end of the day is able to improve more on it. And then we talked also last week about deep learning, which is a subset of machine learning. And then what is deep learning all about? It involves the use of that same neural network I just talked about right now, and then with many layers. It's particularly effective for learning from large data sets, and then it is used to power various applications. So you find things like your voice control. That's what deep learning is doing. Image recognition. That's what deep learning is doing. Then natural language processing processing and more. That's what your deep learning is using. And finally, like I said, the foundational technologies of AI, we talk about natural language processing, which is the technology that allows computer to understand and interact with human language. So it involves the use of the computational techniques really to analyze and understand human language, the pattern. It also allows you to advance in that language understanding and generation capabilities in machine. So this is what makes things like virtual assistants like your Siri, your Gemini, or your Alexa able to answer your question or follow your prompts because you're using what is called what natural language. So and then a subset of this natural language, or how will I put it, is the large language models or LMAs that are specialized type of the natural language technology. What LMAs really are actually what trained on vast amount of text data. Remember, we say artificial intelligence what dwells on data. So LMS enable more advanced language understanding and generation, making it possible really for AI to write things like essay, answer complex question, and even create poetry like you see in ChatGPT today. So that's what LMS does. So with that, we said the way AI has advanced, it advanced, and the boss around AI actually came up with what generative AI, and that's where we started talking about ChatGPT. So generative AI, that is sometimes called Gen AI, is a type of artificial intelligence that creates what original content. Such content has text like images, like videos, audio, or even software code in response to what a user prompt. And that user prompt always comes like in a form of what natural language. So we see generative AI relying on sophisticated machine learning models that is called what the deep learning models, which stimulates the learning and decision making process of this Gen AI. So that's just like a recap of what last weekend was all about. So we're going to be moving forward today, and then we will just talk about Copilot and face what is our Copilot. So I hope that I'm not too fast for you, but if you feel I'm too fast, please let me know so that I can slow down a bit. You can do your thumbs up. Ajif Shafer, I hope I'm not too fast. Yes, I see your hands up. Is it a question or you just raising hand? All right, great. So let's move on then. All right, so let's talk about what is Copilot. So over the years, there's been a surge in the use of artificial intelligence, leading Microsoft to actually introduce a range of AI tools. And then these AI tools collectively is known as what? Copilot. So while Copilot is commonly recognized as an AI chat assistant, it also includes specialized tools that is designed for integration within applications such as your Microsoft Word, your Teams, and your Excel. So you look at Copilot that way. So Microsoft Copilot is an AI tool that leverages what we refer to and which we've been talking about since last weekend, large language models, along with your internal enterprise data from the Microsoft Graph, which we're going to look at. All of those concepts we're going to look at in a bit, and then the Microsoft 365 application. So how does this work? Copilot connects AI and natural language interactions. So you find that users can discover um, more comprehensive answers to their queries, and then also potentially generate content based on the responses that they receive from Copilot. One of the things you need to bear at the back of your mind is that Copilot was created using ChatGPT, and it can integrate with things like your words. Let me get my laser point. It can integrate with things like your um, that's not picking. It can integrate with things like your Microsoft 365 products, such as your Outlook, your Excel, to provide intelligent suggestion, and even things like automating your process, your workflow. Copilot can do all of that, and we will see all of that. Then They also can, what Copilot also aim to is to enhance productivity, efficiency, creativity, and data accessibility while providing not only enterprise grade data security and privacy feature, but at the same time, it also helps to bridge between complex tasks and then user friendly solutions. And you do all of that using the natural language conversational interface to interact with your own data and then with your own data. So much more. One of the things you can still find out with Copilot, just like you have a tax assistant, is that apart from assisting users, yes. So, what we've seen is that the integration of Copilot with within various Microsoft platforms and products actually does what provide a more interactive and efficient digital workspace. So let's talk about it. How does Copilot work? And then which is the next thing we want to think about? Now, Copilot, like we said before, uses what machine learning, just the same way we have gone through what we talked about last week. We're bringing it down here. So there are three things that Copilot uses. It uses what machine learning and natural language processing to understand your work patterns and preferences. And then it can now make suggestions for completing those tasks, maybe formatting the document, and even suggest reply to your emails. And finally, with adaptive learning, it learns from your feedback and adapt to your work style over time. So when we talk about the way Copilot works, how it works, one, it makes use of machine learning, which we've been talking about since, a subset of it, which is deep learning, and then to make informed decision, and then you have the natural language process, which allows you to enter your you just enter your prompt or your question in a natural, just the same way I'm speaking. I've not tried it, but it will be interesting to see whether Copilot can understand broken, but pidgin language. So I've not tried it, but I'm looking out for it to try it one day. So this is the three ways that Copilot work. Now, some of the things that you will come across going forward, some of the concept that we might come across is grounding. And what does grounding mean? Grounding is an essential concept in Copilot. What grounding means is that it ensures that Copilot, the AI responses that is given, that Copilot ensures that the AI responses that is given by Copilot are based on relevant data and context. Do you get? So that's what grounding is. So is the process of ensuring that your AI responses are rooted in the relevant data. So when you say, oh, your source, or probably maybe you are saying that this is where you should check the data from, whether you're saying is to check if you are using the Copilot business, that you're saying check the data, check the responses from my work. From within my work, that is, you are actually saying grounding. You're saying this is the specific place you're supposed to go. Or you can actually say, oh, go over the web for those of you that do not have the business um, version of the Copilot. So you can say, oh, go to the web. So for some of us, we started with using the web. So sometimes you can even limit that response to a specific particular library or to a particular location of where your data is. That's what grounding is. And what grounding, one of the importance is that it enhances a user trust and satisfaction when it comes to the responses you're getting. So because you want to be sure that, oh, the data, the result AI is giving you within Copilot is actually the right thing. So you will see the concept of grounding by the time we move to the M365 to start talking about it. Now, one of the other concepts I want you to understand is my Copilot prompts. Good enough. Olalekan touched on this last week. Copilot prompts, from the word prompts, is actually instructions or questions you use to tell Copilot what you want. Now, like he said, it can be divided into four parts. One, the goal. What do you want from Copilot? So sometimes people will tell me that, oh, they enter some particular prompt is not giving the right result, or maybe Copilot, someone said he's angry and then he gave up because he didn't give him the result he wanted. The most important thing is that you need to learn how Copilot prompts work, and then it actually include four parts. One, what do you want from Copilot? And then the next thing is the context. Why do you need it and who is involved? Then the third part is the expectation. How should Copilot respond to best fulfill your request? And then the source. What information or sample do you want Copilot to use? This can even involve the grounding I made mention of. So you can see an example here, like a goal. I want a list of 3 to 5 bullet points to prepare me. That's the goal. The context is for an upcoming meeting with a client, focusing on their current state and what they're looking to achieve. And then the expectation is that you should respond with a tone that is friendly but authoritative. So whatever content you're going to give me, I want it to be what friendly. I want it to be professional. You can fine tune it in any way. And then what is the source? When you're looking for this data, grounding, make use of grounding and focus on my email or my Teams chat, or even my documents, or even my Teams chat over the last 2 weeks. Sure, you get it. So that is what Copilot prompts, and Oladeko touch a bit on it. We are also going to touch on prompt engineering, one of the modules. During the as the weekend is coming, we're going to dedicate one weekend to prompt engineering. So if you want to learn prompt engineering, it is a good thing for you to still remain in this group. Now, that being said, about Copilot prompts, what you need to also understand is the 3S principle of prompt engineering. I will just touch this in a bit because of maybe by the time we go to some of the demos, you understand what it means, some of the things I'm trying to do. Now, when you talk about three principle that is related to Copilot, the first one is what? Your prompt must be simple, and then your prompt must be specific, and then the third one is that it must be short. There is no need for you to be giving too much for a Copilot. You can give it, it's like those, don't overfeed the baby. Give it what it need at a time so that you don't choke. Because sometimes when you choke Copilot with that's with a lot of information, just like every AI, that's when they hallucinate, because it doesn't see the result, it doesn't see what, it doesn't have an answer to what you're asking it. It's overwhelmed. So that's when they now start thinking. You remember that we said that AI can make decision and it can think on its own. So that's when they now hallucinate that, okay, probably maybe this is what they want. But if you learn this three principle, you will get the right information when you're using prompt engineering. Now, the first thing about principle is that is to focus on clarity. Craft your prompts in such a way that is easy to understand. Avoid complex language or so much convoluted sentence structure. Like, okay, you just want to write everything, just keep it simple. Give it a straightforward instruction. Use direct and unambiguous language to tell Copilot what you want. That is keeping it simple, because you just want to have something, you just want to um you just want a response immediately from it. You can build on that response as you go on. Don't give it so much at a time that it becomes overwhelming and then it's not giving you a result that is not needed. Then be specific, like we said. Targeted requests. You're trying to provide clear and precise details about the desired income. What do you want it? And like we said, avoid ambiguity. I mean, be explicit about the task, the format you want it, and any constraint on limitations. And lastly, when we talk about short, concise prompt, keep your prompt brief and to the point. Focus on the essential information, avoiding unnecessary word or phrases, which is very important. These are the 3S principle of prompt engineering, and we will dwell more on this by the time we go in proper into the topic. So what are these? Why are these principles important? Because you want to get what? Improve results. You want to increase your productivity, and also as much as possible effective collaboration. That is, you want to get clear and concise prompt that can facilitate your communication and collaboration between you and Copilot. Remember what we said a Copilot is an AI assistant. It is an assistant. So when we use the word co-pilot, you are the pilot. So it's just co-piloting with you. So at the end of the day, you want to have a better interaction and collaboration with your co-pilot. So which means that in terms of how you're using the prompts for it, you want it to follow this three principle, which is what? Simple, specific, and short. So to learn about Microsoft 365 Copilot, these are the places where you can learn about it. So you can learn about Microsoft 365 Copilot. Let me see if I can see that real fast. From the prompt, um, let me see. So you have the prompts gallery here. Let's see. Sorry. So you have the prompts gallery here. Mm. So you have prompt gallery here, and then you can look at the prompt gallery, that is the Microsoft Copilot prompt gallery. You have a lot of it where you can get started. You have hundreds of words of prompts that you can get started with. And then these are ways for you to have a better quick tips for you to have a better prompt. We'll share all of this with you by the time we are, I mean, as the class progresses. I'll share it with you, even if it is not now, share it with you in the what they call it, in the group. Now, moving on, I think we talked about the principle. Yes, we've talked about that. So, like I said, there are three ways for you to experience Copilot, and that's what our class is all about today, which is what you adopt three Copilots, you extend Copilot, or you build Copilot. Now, the core value of Copilot stems from his ability to interpret natural language commands. And then because he can understand and interpret natural language command, is that makes it easy for you to enhance the user experience by making it more intuitive and then more user friendly. So when you see Copilot answering queries, assisting with data navigation analysis, maybe in some of these apps like Copilot, I mean Fabrics, maybe Copilot Fabrics, Microsoft Copilot in M365, and then probably some automation in Power Apps. You will see that this is what helps at the end of the day makes Copilot as like that assistant at your fingerprint. So it makes complex tasks more what manageable, and then fostering a collaborative environment for both you, an individual, and also your enterprise or your company. So, like I said, these are the three ways you can experience Copilot. Is either you're making use of it, but a lot of people, what they know is that, oh, Copilot, the one on Windows or the one on Bing. But the truth about it, we have various variety, how will I put it, of flavor. Let me use, because that's tautology, various variety. Okay, let's say we have various flavor of Copilot, you get. So you have them in different flavors, and that flavor is what we're going to go through. So let's look one after the other. The first way for us to experience Copilot, which is what? Adopt, which means that this product is out of the box already. You can just start consuming, or you can just start using it. And then, so let's look at adopt. Copilot, like I said, is designed to enhance user experience across what various Microsoft platforms. And then the way it does that is bringing what AI-driven assistance to numerous services, enabling users to work more efficiently and effectively. Now, how do we adopt all of these experiences? Let's look at it. So the first thing we are used to is what the Microsoft Copilot. So where do we have the Microsoft Copilot? It can answer both. What Microsoft Copilot is like is an AI-powered chat assistant. So you see the word, all of them comes under the umbrella name of what? Copilot. Now, with the Copilot as the parent name, we can now branch to the different types or to the different flavors of Copilot as it works in each of the um in each of the application that we interact with. So the first one, like we said, is what? Microsoft Copilot. And the Microsoft Copilot is what? Is an AI powered chat assistant that is designed to aid users in web browsing and much more. And how do you access Copilot? So you can go right now. Like I asked that for some of you, if you have logged in um into that we log in with that username and password and that you've been given. If you log in right now and then you go to this copilot.microsoft.com, you are going to have an interface somehow like this, really. So if you go into that, let me see. Okay. If you go into that, let me see what you're going to I'm just going to show you right now. So if you go into that, you will see an interface like this. This is what my Copilot is all about. So you should see something like this. So just enter, you can either enter the m365.cloud.microsoft/chat or copilot.microsoft.com. You're actually going to see something like this. So you have Copilot by the end, or you can, you have Copilot by the side here, and then you can see the different use case for it. Yeah. Now, with the experience is different if I go and use, let me show you the Copilot on my desktop. This is the Copilot on my desktop. This is the Copilot, and I'm using like my Hotmail how will I put it? I'm using my Microsoft Outlook account to see. So this is different. So we're going to go into all of these different, maybe from next week, especially when it comes to the Copilot, M365 Copilot chat, and then the Copilot we have on the Windows. So you can see that this is different. Another way you can experience your Copilot is through what? We have it through on the edge here. So you can see Copilot on the edge here. This can sign in. Let me see. I'm having problem. Let me see another one that I can sign in with. Let's hope that I can sign in with this one. Okay. So this is the Copilot so this is my Copilot when it comes to my edge. So you can see another interesting thing that you will see with Copilot today, just like you see in ChatGPT, if you look at it, you can do what? A quick response, or you can do what? Think deeper. So these are the different kinds of what? Copilots that you can experience. So like I said, let's move on so that just show you the different types. So you can do what? You can access Copilot by visiting just https://copilot.microsoft.com, or you can also access Copilot by visiting the bing.com, and then you select chats, just like what I've showed you. Go into the or bing.com, and let's do that one. I don't think I did that one with you. And then you can see Copilot over here also in bing.com, just like the same way that I have it on my browser, but I think I'm having issues with this for one particular reason I can't say. So you have Copilot here that you can interact with. So that being said, what Copilot I mean can offer you is that it can help you with comprehensive answer, provide inspiration, generate images, and much more. So we'll go into that later on, but I just want us to quickly look at the different flavors. So the number one flavor of Copilot, which I've talked about, is Microsoft Copilot. So the next one we're going to look at is Copilot in Windows. Now, Copilot in Windows is so we have Copilot in we have Copilot PC today. That is a PC that comes readily made with Copilot keypad on the PC, right? So that in Windows with Windows level you have that. So it's different from this. It's the same thing somehow with the one that is on your Windows 11 that comes with your Windows 11. But today you have Copilot PC that is a part just like you will have your Windows keypad on your keyboard, you have it also Copilot on your keyboard that you can interact with immediately. And when Windows Copilot enhances what user experience, they help you to navigate the operating system and also to optimize your usage. So in Windows is an AI-powered intelligent assistant that can help you to do a lot of things to make you efficient and creative and being creative so it can help you answer questions or retrieve answer and inspiration from also the web, supporting creative tasks, aiding focus on current tasks. You can ask Copilot in Windows to please adjust your PC settings to organize your windows and initiate creative projects with it. It is also easily accessible, like I said, with the keystroke. So that those Copilot that you have, those Windows 11 Copilot PCs today. You have the keystroke on them, and then you can just work on it. And again, for developers, they can extend the functionality within that Windows. They can actually work on it to extend the functionality, and then for both to build more apps on it. So that's one of the cool things with Copilot in Windows. Um, so if you have like a Surface PC, that's the one I want to say, the Surface PC that comes with Windows 11, and then that is Copilot PC, you have that Copilot keypad or keystroke on it. So that's one of the things. That's another flavor of Copilot. So that's number two flavor we talked about. Number three flavor is like let's look at Copilot in for business apps. Now, when we talk about Copilot for business app, we want to talk about Copilot for we want to make mention of the one for Dynamics. Now, Copilot for Dynamics 365 provides AI assistance to boost your what your productivity and efficiency for sales, for support, for your supply chain management, for your finance, for your marketing and other teams that are involved with your business. That's so from dynamics. If you're a dynamics person, you will see dynamics breaks down into things like what customer relationship services, your supply chain, which falls under your ERP, that is your enterprise resource solution. Then you have things like finance, your marketing, and all of that. So you can with Copilot for Dynamics 365, what you have is that it provides a chat interface for quick summary of your sales. So it provides like sorry. So it provides like a quick summary of your sales. Um Sorry about that. It provides a chat interface for quick summary of your sales opportunities, your leads, updates, your meeting preparation. So I have that sent to me all the time. That okay, see the summary of the meeting that you have with a customer, Copilot in sales also will do that for me. So you can, and then the beauty about it is that the Copilot for Dynamics, it can be integrated with your Outlook and Teams for better data management. So an example of it is that you have Copilot in Dynamics 365 Business Central, Copilot in Dynamics 365 Customer, Copilot for Service, Customer Insight, Copilot in Microsoft 365 Customer Insight Journey. So you have the different flavors of Copilot in Dynamics. So that's just one of the things. So because there are many, I can't break down. That's why I just put like Copilot for Microsoft Dynamics 365. So all of the applications that fall under Microsoft Dynamics 365, you have Copilot in them. Just like I mentioned, you have one for Business Central, one for customer service, and then for service, for customer insight, and as the list go on. So that being said, you have what is called also what Copilot for what services. What Copilot for services helps you with is that it supports your team. So imagine like you have someone that is going to be responding to a service request or an issue request, like a customer issue. So that person can actually quickly make use of Copilot for service to resolve the customer issue more quickly and efficiently. And the beauty about this Copilot for service is that it can also even integrate with third-party applications like your ServiceNow. Like your ServiceNow, you can integrate with those ServiceNow application and then be able to give you insights or data-driven insight for for real solution resolution. I mean for real-time resolutions. So that's what Copilot for Service does. Another flavor is the Copilot in Microsoft apps. Now, Copilot in in Power Apps empowers your user to create custom application quickly by providing what suggestion, templates, and automation features that simplify the development process. So we're going to look at that because some of those I have like access to them. So I can quickly look at giving you like an example of what the feel of Copilot in Power Apps looks like. So I am here in my Power Apps. You can see if you also log on to your Power Apps, I'm not saying that we're not in a Power Apps class, so don't get it twisted. We're just saying we're trying to explore the different flavors of what Copilot. So one of the cool things is that with Copilot in Power Apps, you can actually build application more efficiently than ever. Let me bring that up again. You can actually build application more efficiently than ever just with a single prompt. So if you look at this prompt that I want to right now, I want to say, I want to create an app. I can start with my Copilot for Power Apps here. Before now, you need the class that Omolola is doing right now for you to be able to build an app. That doesn't still mean that you will not need Omolola's class, that is the Power Apps and Automation class, if you want to go into that. But with Copilot, get started with Copilot in Power Apps. I can just give it like just the natural language that I'm used to. So I have this. I said I want to create an lab that allows students to provide their feedback on their courses and the instructors. So immediately, this is just my natural language. I've been able to say what is my goal, what is the context. You can see it there. What's my expectation and what is my source? I will make source is not here, but I can provide that source and we will look at how to provide the source later on. So I can just say generate. And once I say generate, within few minutes, what Copilot is going to do is it's going to create an app for me, and that app is going to show me what the app looks like. So in essence, what you're trying to do is that you can see it gives me a relationship already, that there is a relationship. This is the relationship from the course with the feedback is already giving me. And then I have a course name, I have an instructors, and I have credits. And then my course name will map to my course, the rating, the comments. This is the student name. So you already give me that this is what my app is going to look at. I can view more prompts around here to say, oh, maybe create a table. Maybe I want to say, oh, create another relationship, probably maybe with the instructors and the rating and all of that. Or I can even give it more. So I can look at like I said, I have creating. I can import, maybe I want to import maybe the details of the instructors and the details of the student from that would be my source from an Excel file or even from a SharePoint list. I can also do what? Maybe rename selected um tables, maybe rename columns or change columns. This is what Copilot can do for me. And again, I can delete anyone I want, maybe selected table and then or columns, and lastly, do some form of suggestion table to create. So if you look at what FOI and J Street class is all about, sorry, I think they will touch a bit on this Copilot for Power Apps, but if they don't touch on it, this is just what Copilot for Power Apps will look like, and you can learn it and you can do it on your own. So if I say save and open this app at the end of the day, you will see that Copilot will tell me that when you are done, select save, open up, and then it will save and create all of the tables and the relationship, which will just happen in a few minutes. I can go get my cup of coffee and come back and then look at the Power App. So you see that in a way, my production or time has been reduced because I'm just giving an AI assistant within Power Apps in a natural language instruction that I just needed it to carry out. I don't need to think so much. I don't need to code. Yes, we know that Power Apps before now is a low code or low code application. More importantly, I will still need to learn the formulas. I will still need to learn some of those syntax or that is being used within Power Apps. But in this case, what I've just done right now is just for me to be able to give it what? A natural language. And then it has already built an app for me, which I can improve on as time goes on. So this is what your Copilot within Power Apps can do. And you already told me, okay, I forgot to show you that there are two ways you can save this app. You can save it either as a Canvas app or in a database. So you can see that you already gave me what they call it, the welcome screen, what will be. And this is intuitive enough, which means I can interact and even add colors. I can do a lot of things with it from within the Power Apps. So you can see that it's taking me further and said, oh, it can also help me with create. That is, maybe I want to add a screen form or button. I can change fields. I can also ask it what to do, all of those things. So let us even see whether this works. This is what my feedback will be like. So I can add a new feedback. You can see student's name, biology. Let's see what, if I want to add a new one, what it will look like. I can put the student name. I can even make it auto fill. What is the comment about the teacher, your rating, what course does this person take? Those are things that you can actually try out in with co-pilots, and then forget that it looks like this. You can make it beautiful and suit it into your, so you can play around it with co-pilot in Power Apps. So who says that building apps these days you have to burn your bank or to spend so much for you to build it? You can even use this to start training yourself. So that's Copilot in what? In Power Apps. So moving on, let's talk about Copilot in Power Automate. So with Copilot in Power Automate, users can easily build workflows by receiving intelligent recommendations for automation that can help them enhance their business needs efficiently. So what Copilot in Power Platform does is that it simplifies what your automation creation using, just like I said, natural language expression. That's the most important thing. That's the most important thing for Copilot. The one thing is an AI assistant that just speak your language to me. And I want to believe that it should be able to understand it even understand other languages more than English. So you all you just need to do is just describe what you need through a conversation, and Copilot will assist by understanding the intent, setting up the connections in your automate, applying the necessary parameters, and making the request change to the flow. So let's give it a try. Let's see what Copilot in in Automate we do. So I'm here in my Automate window again, and in my home page I have create your automation with what? With Copilot. And let's see what it will be. So I'm going to try out a prompt, and that prompt will be that um this is my prompt. My prompt is that build me an approval workflow for expense submission within two levels of approval, that is supervisor and finance. You can also see the suggested flow says that when a form is submitted, start an approval process. I think one of the ones that we even say is that create an approval and send a message to my teams and emails depending on their approval result. One person that I know disturbed me a lot is Omolara. So if I can even create a form, this thing to say, once Omolara send me an email message, please post it in Teams. Those are things that I can do with my Copilot what automation. So I'm just going to do this like that, build an approval workflow for an expense submission with two level of approval, supervisor and then finance. If I want it to be three level of approval, I can put it. Let's see what Copilot is going to do in Automate in a split second of time, in a split of seconds, really. It's going to give you the suggested flow. It's going to give you the trigger that the flow start when this happens. What happens when this, that is what the trigger is all about. And the action, what is it supposed to do when that thing happened? So you can see if I say keep this, is going to I can look at even the way the flow is again. It starts when the response is submitted. That is when somebody submitted an expense for if response request in a form, what is the action? You should get that details and then wait for an approval, and then if the approval is true, send an email to the person to say, oh, your form has been approved, and then you can create the approval item or the expense item, sorry. And when the response is no, send an email also. So you can see this, that with Copilot in Power Automate, you don't even need to learn so much. Do you get? And you can add more details if you want. You can add more details, or you can keep it and continue. That's what Copilot in Ultimate will do. So you can see it already showing, it's telling me that I'm the owner, and then it's going to need an approval. In a minute, in a few seconds, I've already built my flow. Do you get? It gives me, and I can now what? Create my flow, and then just add maybe the data source, all of the source, or maybe the things, or where the form is, which form is it talking about, which form am I talking about. So I already created a form that I can use, and then what? Put it into the flow. So that's what co-piloting, what Power Automate will do for you. Now let's talk about Copilot in Fabric. To be honest, I don't have the environment to test this because the requirement is actually quite high. I don't have a Fabric workspace, because you can, to create a Fabric workspace, you're going to need some Azure credits. So in Microsoft Fabric, but how does this work? Copilot in Microsoft Fabric assists users with data analysis and reporting. What it does is that it facilitates better decision making through what? Intelligent data insight and recommendation. So you have Copilot in Microsoft Fabric that is bringing ways to transform and analyze data. So this is another flavor of what? Copilot. So we've talked about Copilot in in business applications like your CRM. We've talked about Power Apps. We talked about it in Automate, and now we're talking about Fabric. So that's another flavor of what? Copilot. Now, let's look at how Copilot is also helping developers. Now, so we have Copilot for Azure. Now, what Copilot for Azure allows you to do is helps you to what? Design. It helps you to operate and troubleshoot your cloud infrastructure and services. It also helps you to optimize it. Now, how does this work? It combines the power of cutting-edge large language models with the Azure resource model. So Copilot for Azure can now enable rich understanding and management of everything that is happening in Azure. So how does this work? Let us quickly look at how we can do that. And then you can access Copilot in Azure in the Azure portal or through the Azure mobile app. For some of you that already have Azure, these are some of the things you can do with Copilot. So let's see. Let me bring up my Azure. So I'm gonna bring up my Azure. This is my Azure. I hope I'm still logging. Okay. So I have this is my Azure environment, and then with my Azure, this is my Copilot here. Mm. So remember that I talk about this is my Copilot in Azure. Let me close the one in my this is my Copilot in Azure. And you can see what Copilot in Azure says. It says, can help me answer question, complete answer, and discover and utilize data um, services. So let me start with even telling Copilot, in Azure, some of the things I want it to do. I want it to change first, because I don't like my screen to be too wide. I'm going to tell Copilot in Azure to do or change my theme towards to dark mode. And you can see what it's going to do immediately after I have said that. Okay, so it will change that to dark mode. Another thing I can do is that this is me making changes to my Azure environment. What about if I want to learn or how to upload a storage container with JavaScript? Let's see what Copilot in Azure is going to do for me. Maybe I ask it this to say, okay, how do I upload the storage container with JavaScript? I don't know how to do this. Can you show me? And then this is what my Copilot in Azure is going to do. So it's going to teach me the step by step of how I am going to do all of that. This is great because sometimes you can get overwhelmed and you do not know how to do some of these tasks. And this is some of the tasks you're going to be doing even as a developer, or even, let's say, as a layman. You can even start with, oh, can you tell me how to create virtual machines that has a Linux operating system on it? And it's going to show you the step by step. So it will give you some documentations for it. So this is what Copilots in Microsoft Azure will do for you. So like I said, every one of us here, Copilot. There are a lot of flavors around under Copilot. They only all just come under the parent name word Copilot, and then you can now branch to the different applications that is using them, like Copilot for what Azure that we've just talked about. Now, moving on, let's see what Copilot. We're still with the developers. How does the developer work? But the truth about it these days with Copilot, you can actually do a lot of things and even without being a developer. I have written codes in the past few months that I am not a developer. I did not even learn, but with Copilot GitHub, that is GitHub Copilot, I've started learning maybe even things gradually, on how to Python language and all of that, build a particular application for me using Python, and then this with this Python language and all of that. So if you look at GitHub Copilot, is actually an AI peer programmer. That's why it acts as a what an AI peer programmer, assisting with developers in their coding tasks efficiently. And then it also offers context-aware suggestion and speed up the coding process and all of that. But what is important to us is that how does this thing work? Which I'm just going to show us in a bit again. I'm going to go back to that, my page. So I have like my co-pilots. This is my GitHub page, you get, and I can start my co-pilot for free. So if I click on get started for free, it's going to bring me to this page where this is co-pilot. So I can ask the Copilot in GitHub to do anything that maybe in just natural language. I do not need to learn it. So let's say I have a function. I want it to to write a function in Python that checks if a number is a prime number. You get, I can give it this instruction and it's going to write it for me. And I can even select the transformer I want to use. These are the different models, and you can see that you have with it. Which one do I want to use? The preview right now is O1. I can use any of it. These are Azure OpenAI. That is being talked about. The highest right now is ChatGPT 4.1. So you can see, I do not know programming, but do you see, I can actually, with this says that explain each line of code in layman. in a layman's understanding. So please, you can sign up for GitHub for Copilot. It is free. Microsoft made it free some few months ago, I believe. So you can see that even when I said that explain in a layman's language, you can see what it's doing to me. It's a layman explanation, def in prime. This line defines, that is why it's def, defines a function called is prime that takes a number, any kind of number as input. So it is teaching me, I can interact with it. I can, I'm not saying if you want to learn, it's compulsory, you go and learn it, but this is just giving us the different scenarios. So I'm having some thunderstorm here. Please, can you guys still confirm you can hear me? Please, Joseph, please thumbs up if you can still hear me. Hello. Can you guys confirm you can you see my screen and you can hear me?
Yes, we can
Yeah.
hear you. We can see your screen
All
too.
right. All right. Thank you. Great. So I just want to be sure that because I'm having some thunderstorm here and I want to be sure. So another thing is this. So let's say I want to build an HTML and ACCL. I mean, I can start another prompt here. Hmm? I can start another prompt and say, oh, build me a responsive HTML and CSS layout for a landing page with hero section features and this. Excuse me. I bring up that one. Imagine me. Do I know what to write here? Do you understand? Do I know? I'm not a developer, but now I can go and shine and say, okay, I'm a developer. When all of this is done, I can say, okay, how how do I view this page? Hmm? And it's going to give me the instruction of what to do. So it's telling me copy all this HTML code that you have into a file, name this, copy this, and then do this, because I have two files. I have this index.html and I have style.html, style.css. So that you copy them. And then it's giving me open a browser and open, and then I will see the landing page. You see, that's the beauty of you using the different flavors of Copilot. So what I've done, it may sound very boring, but what I'm trying to do here is just to give you the different flavors of Copilot so that you are not limited to say, oh, it's only Copilot in Microsoft 365, but there are different flavors. So let's look at the last flavor that we're looking at, but this is more than this. Like I said, we have Copilot for security. So if you were in Joy's class, this you will be learning about Copilot in security, which will provide security teams with what? With actionable insight and threat intelligence, helping them to strengthen the security posture and respond to incidents more effectively. So that's what Microsoft Security Copilot, Microsoft Security Copilot will do for you. So it's an AI-powered security analysis tool that empowers defenders to move at speed and scale of AI. So you know that even as AI is evolving, our hackers are not sitting down and folding their hands also. So they are evolving also. They are, because every one of us, AI is learning new patterns. Hackers also are learning new patterns. Even with that, we're using all of these AI tools, we are learning it every day. So, but with Microsoft 365 Copilot, what you're able to do is that it's going to give you what an actionable insight and threat intelligence to help you what strengthen your security posture and be able to respond to incidents more effectively. Now, I have not, to be honest, I've not covered all of the flavors of Copilot, but I just want to stop there. So, and then we now focus our on what is going to be our focus, which is what Microsoft 365 words Copilot. Now, Microsoft, because the class we're in is what Microsoft 365 Copilot and AI. So this is another flavor of Copilot, and this is where we are now focusing. Now, I see Babajide's hand up, and I see Ajif Shafe's hand still up. Please put your questions in the chat window. Whatever question you have, Miriam is there. She will attend to it. And if you want, by the time the class is over, I'm going to unmute you and you can speak up. Please, the truth is right now, maybe because of your hand, it may distract me. Just put it in the chat window. You can lower it down, and then we'll respond to you later. So what is Microsoft 365 Copilot? It integrates with your productivity apps like your Word, your Excel, your PowerPoint, and then also helping you, giving you sensitive suggestion, automating repetitive tasks to boost your productivity. That's what it does. Now, what it does is that it combines large language models with Microsoft Graph, which we're going to touch in a bit, linking your organization data with your Microsoft 365 to create a new way of working. And then we'll see how Copilot in M365 also work. All of these we're still under adopting the way you can experience Copilot. Remember what we said, we have three ways to experience Copilot. One, adopting, extend, and build. So we're still under adopting, the first way for us to experience Copilot. Adopting, because M365 Copilot is already made. We only just need to consume it, which is what we're talking about. So with that being said, let me see. Let me let me share my sound. So what this is just telling you is how Microsoft 3 Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot works across all of the M365 apps, like your Word, your Excel, your PowerPoint, and all of that. And now you can also draft within your Outlook, how the Copilot also works within your Outlook. You see? And then some of the things that within your teams that you can use Copilot to also get compatibility and everything that's just really just want us to see the little thing of what the Copilot does when it comes to M365. So that's just the video of what Copilot in M365 does. So let's really talk about what it is. What are the components of the M365 Copilot for Microsoft 365? Sorry. Now, we know, how we have said before now, that Copilot is an AI assistant. However, when it comes to Microsoft 365, is an AI-powered feature that utilizes, just like we've said, the LLM and the LMMs, that is the large language model. And then it also makes use of your graph. So it makes use of your graph. Now, I will talk about each of the components that make up M365. We've talked about large language models in depth. We've talked about it so much. These are advanced AI models that understand and generate human-like tests. They help Copilot understand your queries and provide relevant responses. But when you talk about Microsoft Graph is a collection of APIs that connects various Microsoft services and devices. So what Microsoft Graph does is that it allows Copilot to access and use your data from within your Microsoft 365, such as your emails, your documents, your calendar events, to provide personalized assistance. And then when we now talk about where is those data residing, they reside in things like your app. So Copilot use the data in your apps and then context to tailor its responses and all of that, using what the RAI, which is the responsible AI principle. That is something that you always be. That's one thing that marks Microsoft AI agents. It always sits on the words. It always makes use of your responsible AI principle, even to get your data. So if you get a data and that probably maybe the data is getting out, maybe you have a a labeling or a classification on that data that it should not be shared outside your network. It will still honor all of that. Whatever settings, security settings you put on those apps will still be honored. So let's talk about how exactly is Microsoft, what exactly is Microsoft Graph? So today you use Microsoft tools like Outlook, like Teams, like OneDrive, like SharePoint, like Excel. Those are Word. Every day you use them, right? So now imagine that there is a big map that connects all your files, your messages, your meetings, your contacts, your email, your calendar, and even the people you work with. That's what Microsoft Graph is. So it's a smart map, if I'm using it in layman, that connects and understand everything going on across your Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So you can say that the Microsoft Graph is a universal remote for your what? For your Microsoft apps. So it's like a super smart assistant that help you to pull information from everywhere. When you email the most, information from everywhere. So such information can include, oh, when the time you email the most, what meeting you have today, where your files are saved, and even what's trending in your document. That's Microsoft Graph, pulling all of those information out. So those are some of the things that you can get with Microsoft Graph. And then what you can do is that it can show you your next calendar event in Outlook. You can find the latest file you worked on OneDrive. You can help a chatbot fetch your team's messages. Microsoft Graph is the way that does all of that. So with that being said, knowing that Microsoft Graph, Element, and then your Microsoft app is what makes the Copilot for M365 to work. Let's now understand the architecture. Now look at the architecture of Microsoft, of Copilot for Microsoft 365. Now we can see at this place that this is where your Microsoft 365 apps is sitting. And then you have the large language model here, right? And then you have the Microsoft Graph. Again, the three components that make what? The Copilot for your Microsoft 365. One, the Microsoft 365 app sitting here, and then the large language model where the data are stored, and then the graph that is helping to pull off all of those information. So let's talk about it in the layman, how it works. Now, you as a user, this is you as a user, you sit here, let's say you carry your Word document or your what they call it, let's say Word document, or even um your your Word document, you sit in your Word document, or even let me say your Teams, and you type a prompt. And once you type that prompt on what you want to get, what happens is that it goes into Word. When Copilot received, this is Copilot in the middle, it received that input prompt from a user, like in your app such as Word or PowerPoint or even Excel. This is you sending the prompt. The next thing is that when that prompt is used, you receive Copilot takes the input that it gets from you and go through the process. Remember what we call that process called what? Grounding. That process called grounding. That grounding says that, well, where do I get the relevant document for this person out? It helps you to look for instruction to say, where is your document? So it takes that true grounding, and then it makes the prompt to be more specific, through grounding to be more specific, to help generate the relevant actionable answer for the task that you have just asked it. Now, this prompt may include text. It may even include input files from other contents that you found. And then it will take that, and then through grounding, it sends down to your what? Microsoft Graph. Now, once it gets to Microsoft Graph, Copilot, since it sends the grounding to your it sends the grounding to your Microsoft Graph. Whatever Copilot gets, it now sends it now to what? The large model for processing. That's where number 3 comes in. So it sends it to the large model, who does all of the processing, and then it only does the processing. Remember that we says it use what? RAI, which is um a responsible artificial intelligence principle. You use that to look at those files and says that, okay, is this file what I'm supposed to use based on your own role-based access control that you've sent? So he's going to look at it and then send the files to this large language model. Now, when the large language process this file again, it receives the message and sends it back to what? To Copilot. And then when Copilot receives this message, it does another form of what? The responses it gets from this element, it does another form of processing. Excuse me. Now, the process that it does again, it involves making additional call in form of grounding. You can see grounding again. Let me just get water. So you can see that the first grounding it did was the first time when it got the message was a pre-processing. Now the second grounding is going to be a post-processing, which means that it's also going to do an additional call to your Microsoft Graph and does things like AI checks, reviewing security, compliance, and privacy, and then it generates, excuse me, and then it generates commands. The, then lastly, you see the response as the user. Okay, so like we said, this is the way M365 Copilot for Microsoft 365 or Microsoft 365 Copilot works, which we've given. And that ends the way it works. So far, we've been talking about how the experience of how we can adopt Copilot in the different flavors, and then now landing at the Microsoft 365 Copilot. The next thing we want to look at, this next experience is how to extend what Copilot. And the way we can extend Copilot is that we can extend it through local developments like your what? Like the Copilot Studio. Do you get? Or through plugins and messages, extension or connectors. So you can have Copilot today use, but you now decide and say, no, 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 this is not enough for me. I want to be able to build my own Copilot myself. And then you can build that, or you can even extend the function. I mean, sorry, you can extend the functionality. Let me not use build yet because you might get confused. Because Copilot Studio works both in extend and then in build. So, but you can build your own Copilot. That is, you want to build your own Copilot for your own organization. Remember that Copilot is more like an AI assistant, and it's more like a conversational chat bot, which you can chat with. Do you get? So you can decide to build a Copilot, extend your own Copilot through plugins or through local development, which we are going to do now. We're going to look at it because we can't build it now. So how do we extend Copilot because we want to enhance the functionality? So to maximize the value of Copilot, users can enhance this functionality through various integration and extension. And then some of the offerings that we have around here is that Copilot, just like we know, it offers a comprehensive range out of the box features. Yet you might decide to use external tools or services and data to carry out tasks. So what extending does is that it bridges the gap between maybe what you want to do and what Copilot can what Copilot can function at that time, what you are looking at and what Copilot can do at that time. So instead of it, you can now extend the functionality and then to bridge the gap. And what you can use are things like your plugins, your connectors or message. So when you look at plugins for Copilot, it enables users to extend its capability by integrating third-party tools, really, um, allowing for customized workflow tailored to specific needs. So what plugins actually does is that it allows users to interact directly with APIs. And when you talk about APIs, that is application programming interface. When we talk about APIs, um, a lot of the way I used to break down APIs to someone is if you go into an hotel and you sit at your table, You don't know what is happening at the back end, that is in the restaurant, or I'm sorry, let me use the word not to tell you, in a restaurant. You don't know what is happening at the back end. The only thing is that you have a menu that is being given to you by a waiter, and then that waiter will take your order and then take it to the back end, and then the finished product comes to you, and that's what you're eating. So that waiter that takes that order back and forth can be referred to as what your API. So what you do with plugins for Copilot is that it allows you as a user to directly interact with the API that speaks to the back end of the architecture of Copilots or the services. And then it can now do what? Bring You can now extend the functionality of Copilot much more than you can do. So you can see with Microsoft Copilot, user has a question, and then Copilot calls the API through this Copilot plugin API, and at the end of the day, it responds with the API data. So this is where developers sits, and then these are for developers really that can actually do um what they call it, communicate with your co-pilot or extend the functionality. So one of the example of plugins is the Power Platform, and that's why we say local. That's where you see the local there. So you can see the Power Platform connectors. You can see them here. And then with the Power connectors, it offers a set of pre-built actions and triggers, just like those triggers we brought in from what they call it, from Power Apps that we're showing you, and then from Power Automate, for developers to build their own apps and workflows. So that's an example of me, what I did that time, going into those places that I can even say, oh, extend this or create a new thing, do this table and all of that. That is me extending the functionality of Power Platform. So you can, Microsoft 365 Copilot, and then with Copilot in Power Platform, I can actually do what? Extend the functionality. So you have the Power Platform content collector doing all of that. So that's a good example of how you extend the functionality. Excuse me. So another way to extend the functionality of Copilot is using the Microsoft Graph. Like we said, you know what the Microsoft Graph does, but with the Microsoft Graph connector, what it does is that it imports external content into M365. First thing you need to know is that what does connectors do? So let me say, so connectors facilitate seamless integration between your Copilot and external applications. So enabling for what you can see as what data exchange, and then also for collaborative workflow across the platform. So how does this work? You have an example of a Microsoft Graph here connector, and then a Microsoft Graph will import external content into your Microsoft 365. Once this content is imported into your Microsoft 365, things like probably maybe search, you can see things like search, you import things like search, contents IQ, or things from Microsoft.com, or even you get you can now access the contents with Microsoft Graph. And then, so what Microsoft Graph does is that it's responsible for three things. It creates an external connection, and then connects the external data source and ingests content into your M365. And then lastly, it manages what the external connector. So those are the three things, the external content that is imported. So that's the three ways that your connector works using the Microsoft Graph. Another thing, I think we've talked about Microsoft Graph in a way. Another way you can extend the functionality of your Copilot is through message extension. So you have message extension, which enables users to interact with external services directly with the Copilot. So I don't know how many of you have seen adaptive cards in Microsoft Teams, or you can create chatbots in Microsoft Teams. So these are things you use to extend the functionality. So message extension allows users to interact with enterprise services through Microsoft Teams chat. So in those days, we will build with SDK, you will build like an application in Teams, and you'll be able to use it, and you'll be able to search. So you have, okay, I think one example that can come to your mind. Has anybody seen Approver in Teams? Approver. Let me see if I can bring my Teams forward, and then we can. If you've used, so this is my Microsoft Teams. I think we're here. So if you've seen anything like workflows like Approver, this is, so if you look at approval, sometimes you have approvers. So these are like message extension, because at the end of the day, you can have approval send you a request to tell you that somebody is needing your this is needing your action, whether to approve or decline a request. So what is used to build this is like message extension. So the same way also you can use message extension from within Teams to build your what they call it, your M365 Copilot. Let me bring this down. Do you get? So, and then you can see the message extension. There are two ways you can build. You can actually build a station with an API, like we said before, or you can build a message extension with a bot. When do you know what to use? You start here. Is there an open API, defined API, or chat GPT plugin that you want to take advantage of? If the answer is yes, then you build the extension with an API. But if the answer is no, and then you want that extension to what, to have some conversational actions in it, then you are going to be building it with the bot framework that is within Teams. So this is the two ways you can also extend. So I've talked about three ways you can extend your functionality of Copilot. One, you can extend with a connector using a Microsoft Graph. You can also extend with what? With a message extension. And then you can also extend, what's the third one? Um, you can also extend with a plugin. So those are the three ways you can extend your what they call it, your Copilot. And what are the advantages? This is where the developers show their skills, really. All of this thing about extensions is where the developers show their skills. Pro code or pro developers, pro code developers, or low code developers, this is where they show their skills. So benefit, you don't, this is just for you to know, and also for you to prepare for exam. I'm not saying that you need to have this information, but because during exam period you'll be asked questions around how do you extend the functionality of Copilot. That's why I'm just going through it. So you have developers can incorporate external data directly into Copilot. And then another benefit is the productivity that it enhances, because with integration of external data, users can access relevant information without interrupting their tasks. Then collaboration also is improved. And then most importantly, independent software vendor that is called ISV, they can do what? They can build plugins to seamlessly integrate their specific line of business. So if you look of like specific line of business application, you can actually customize them using what? Through extending the Copilot functionality, using plugins to do all of that. Then the natural language part of it is also there, where you can use natural language interaction through like things like Copilot in your Power Apps and Power Automate to actually extend the functionality. So that's just what the benefits. So the last part we're going to look at is building your own Copilot. So you have two options to build your own Copilot, whether you can use what the Azure AI Foundry, that is custom code. This is for the pro code developers, and then the low code, which is also for the what low code developers. So the low code developers. So when you're talking about things that Foyi and Jesri are teaching, this is where you come into it. However, we might also touch a bit there, maybe when we will touch a bit there, but not in depth. So if you want to learn more about Microsoft Copilot Studio, you might want to watch the recordings of what Foyi, their class on Copilot Studio's essential, and how you build um what they call it with Copilot Studio, but we will touch it also a bit. So what are the ways, like we said, build what they call it, build copilots. You want to build your own copilot from afresh, from start. That is, you are building your own conversational chatbot. So you can use what the Azure AI Foundry, which used to be OpenAI, which used to be OpenAI Studio before, but is now renamed as Azure AI Foundry. What it does is that it's going to bring together capabilities from different Azure AI services, and then you can build your own large language model. You can even make use of existing large language model, and then create your prompts and all of that. More specifically, because you want to build something for your that is organization specific, so you can use that. Then you have the Microsoft Copilot Studio, which is a low code tool that enables creation of robust AI-driven chatbots and ChatGPT capable of handling like a lot of interactions and all of that. So what the thing is that Copilot Studio not only simplify the process of building um, intelligent chatbot, but it also seamlessly integrates across a variety of digital platforms such as your website. When you build those conversational chatbots or Copilot, you can actually integrate it with your website, which means, so I let me say I have like an e-commerce site and I build my own Copilot. I can build my own Copilot and say interact with my e-commerce website, so that when customer wants to know about goods, instead of contacting an human agent, because right now it is even what is called AI agents, it can do what it can speak to, they can interact with it, it can fetch them the data, from asking to transaction, closing the transaction, it can do all of that. So we can build. Then it can also integrate with your Facebook and your Microsoft Teams. So that's what we have. And then one good thing is that it can also integrate with existing system, like we said. And then finally, because of time, we're going to be looking at what are the best practices for building Copilot experiences. One, you want to incorporate user feedback as much as possible so that you can improve on your chatbot, or you can on your copilot, and so that you can meet user needs and expectation. And so you also want to build some form of iterative development where you have some form of continuous improvement based on user input and testing result that you get. Then one of the things also you want to do as much as possible is to do a thorough testing in Copilot, and to ensure the usability, functionality, and then satisfaction of your Copilot. So in conclusion, we have talked about how we can adopt Copilot experience through the different Microsoft Cloud framework, like your Copilot in Azure, Copilot, GitHub Copilot, Copilot in Power Apps, Copilot in Power Automate. Those are the ways. Microsoft 365 Copilot for Microsoft 365, or Microsoft 365 Copilot. Then we still talk about Copilot Windows. We'll talk about Copilot in Dynamics. That is the way you can do what you can adopt it. Then we also talk about how we can extend it, that is to meet organization needs by doing what building by extending the functionality. And then most importantly, we talk about how we can build Copilot from scratch. That is using the Azure AI Foundry and then the Copilot Studio. So, in summary, by adopting, extending, and building Copilot's experiences within the Microsoft Cloud, you as an engineer or even your organization can improve productivity and create tailored solutions that meet your unique needs. So also embracing tools that will pave the way for Copilot. So next week, at where we're going to start on practical work. So we've done like a foundation for what is AI. We've also done foundation for Copilot, different flavors. So from next week, we are going to be looking at how to work with Copilot. So, like I said, if you do not have, you will see today. This is what we'll look at: agents, how to create your own agents, how to interact, the different parts of Copilot, how you can the interface for this Copilot, because this is what we're going to be working with. Yeah, we'll be working with this, and then we'll move on to let me see. Um then you can see the difference between my own Copilot. This is Copilot, my M365 Copilot chart. You can see. Then you can, and then this only what searches your web, and then maybe any document you attach to it. But for this one that is a business M365 Copilot, you can see that it can search my word, my work environment, and also have the option for me to search my web. Do you see? So those are the difference between what the Copilots offering. So there are three types of M365 Copilots. So we have the M365 Copilot chat, which is what you have right now, and then the business one. The business one is the one that goes into your work environment, that goes into your M365 apps, that follows you in your teams, that follows your word and all of that, and you can do. So I don't want to break the flow because um next weekend, the person that will be taking us through the different flavors as it, because now we are now focused on our subject, which is M365 Copilot. The person that is going to be taking us is Joseph, and is going to be walking us through the different flavors. And with that, we'll have a lot of hands-on to do next week. So it is very important that you have your details, you can log in, and then you'll be seeing what we are doing. So you can see the different things. Meanwhile, I can also show you some of the things. I mean, I can, just to walk you around the Copilot. So if you look at it, you have the Copilot interface here, where you have the different prompts, the different. So this is Copilot. Like I said, this is Microsoft 365 Copilot chat. As long as you don't have anything around Word, this is M365 Copilot chats. As long as you don't have anything around work there, that is the interface for work. But the only way you are able to access this is because you have a Microsoft Entra ID, because you have a Microsoft tenant. So what Microsoft did is that a lot of organizations says that, oh, Microsoft Copilot came out, we don't even have a way to test it. So that's why Microsoft did the Copilot charts, so that you can test. And if you are still someone like your organization is still trying to say, oh, maybe we are looking at how to adopt, but is there a way we can test it out? So you can start with M365 Copilot chat, and you can see the different interface for the prompts. You have prompts here, monitor industrially, going on holiday and all of that. The most important one is what we're going to be doing to create agents. Do you get? Now, if you look at the difference here, let me bring my Copilot again, the Business Pro out. So if you see, if I say I want to create, if I come to work, if and I say I want to create agents, you can see that it takes me now to Copilot Studio. I have the option for me to do my agents in Copilot Studio or just create it on my own. So this is me. I can create, and if I click on configure, it means that I'm going now into what Copilot Studio. So I can just describe what I want here and then create my agent. So we're going to discuss on that. We're going to touch that from next week. Those next week is good. Like I said, it's going to be pure practical going forward. But if you look at what you have, we can only create agents. We do not have the option to say I can get agents if I say I want to create agents. Okay, yes, this works for me because I have Copilot Studio. And for some of you, it will work also because you have Copilot Studio. Yes, because of the tenants we gave you. Yeah. So you can see the different kinds of agents we can see the different kinds of things you either describe just with your natural language, just describe what you want your agents to do, or you configure going forward. So we are going to walk you through the different use cases of Copilot in words. I can start Copilot. I don't want to do that because that's another class for someone else. How you can start a Word document and then tell Copilot what you want it to do. Maybe create a proposal. Getting that proposal, you take it to Word, you take it to a PowerPoint to create a presentation. You get an Excel sheet. You take Copilot to break down to try a lot of things. So that's from next weekend. We're going to be doing that. So with that being said, like I said, I don't want to go into someone else's class so that I can save the experience. I can make the experience very fresh for you. So with that being said, we've concluded our class for this weekend, which is the ways for you to interact with Copilot. Either you adopt it just as it is made, or you want to extend it, or you want to build from afresh. So with that conclusion, I am now available for question. Thank you. Yes, I know. I see a lot of hand before now. Up. Okay, so let me unmute you. Salawat, yeah. This guy
All right.
create. Yeah, welcome to my Copilot, but because one of the apps I can get here. Yeah, I'm looking for this one. Will not allow me to give you. This is so what I'm trying to say is that in essence, if you have the Entra ID, which is Microsoft Entra ID, there is no browser you cannot log into that you will not get. Now, the other one that's probably maybe you are talking about where you will not be able to is the desktop copilot. Now, the desktop copilot, if you look at it, my account here is what my Outlook account. So the desktop copilot, also you will be able to use it. The one that you have, you can see it. You have it on your tax that comes with your Windows 11. You can use it and then sign in. But the difference is that I can't create any agents from here. It's just like the copilot in my Windows. So what it allows me to do is that I can give it any file. I can attach a file for it. I can add the new conversation. I can open upload a file. I can decide to say, okay, I want to speak to it, and then it listens to me. If I click on this, you know, it's going to,
Hey, hola Jomuke.
okay,
How's your Saturday shaping up?
it's going on well. I can interact with it. So I can tell it what I need. He's asking me question. This is the one from Windows. Do you get that you can interact with? This is the desktop. So that one you can, even if you do not have a Microsoft Entra ID, you can do what you can interact with it with your Outlook account. This is the one. So, but if you have a Microsoft Entra ID, maybe from your organization, like I said, if your organization have M365 or even Office 365, today, with what Microsoft has done, you can interact with what the Copilot chat, even if you don't have the M365 Copilot that is paid for, that is the business type, you can interact with. We will still teach you on licensing later on, and with that you can create. That's number one question. So you can see me here in Mozilla. I can open it. This same account. I think let me do it this way. And this one is saying buy, because I do not have the account I'm logging with does not have, like, this is my Outlook account. So I cannot use it in an M365 environment because it does not have a Microsoft Entra ID. Do you get? But any account you log in with, which is, let me see, any account you log in with that has the Microsoft Entra ID, you have the Copilot chat. That is. So, Salawat, I don't know if that answered your first question.
I
Mm?
see.
Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. No, don't worry. Don't listen again because this one is saying I'm listening. Don't worry. I'm not talking to you again. Okay, so that's number one. Then number two, the question is around, if you, what's the difference between when you create your Copilot with let me add my screen. When you create your Copilot with what they call it, with Copilot Studio, and then when you create it. Now with Copilot Studio, is that your question, or you want to rephrase it, please?
And yes, that's my question. Like normal written code by developers and using
Mm-hmm.
Copilot to create an app, what is the difference? Like, can you be
Yeah.
using the one, push it to outside, push it, publicize
Mm-hmm.
it, and like, so that's my question.
Yes, great. So if you use, if you create the Copilot with if you create your Copilot with Copilot Studio, one, you can use it for internal use, and you can also use it with low code, that is with Copilot Studio. You can also use it with the outside world. How do I mean? You remember that I said you can push it to somewhere like your website and say, oh, people can what interact with it. Now, when you use Copilot Studio, you have less code. It is assumed that you are not a pro developer. I'm using the word pro developer, who can use the real programming language. Instead, you are a low code developer, which means you do not have any experience around programming language. So you can build with Copilot Studio. When you build with Copilot Studio, you can push that Copilot to the outside world to consume. I gave an example of an e-commerce site. You can now say, oh, this site, these Copilots I have built, I want you to link to my e-commerce site, where when people go into my e-commerce site, you know the way you go to any site and then you can now chat with a bot. You can do that. Now, the difference between that with a pro code developer is that they will build from afresh. They will be the one, they would have drawn the structure, but they too, they have an environment to build with. They will use the Azure what AI Foundry. So if you are a pro code developer, you will build within the AI Foundry, and you can also push it to the outside world for them. So today, which helps me. So if I go to, I want to answer your question very well. So if I go to um what they call it, apps. hmm, If I look at apps and I look at agents today, and I'm saying that these are all agents that have been built with, we call them now AI agents. They are still Copilot. This is not my tenants that build this thing, but they pushed it to me for me to be able to use it. So to your question, can you build with either of it and then push to the outside world that the outside world can consume? Yes, you can. That's the answer. You will build. So the two ways you can build is that you either use your Copilot Studio, which means you will build and the people will be able to, if you don't know how to code, but if you want to build afresh as specific to your organization, then you can build with the Azure Foundry, where your developers will write the code all afresh and then just make use of some models that are in the AI Foundry, or even build their own AI models afresh and then now push it to what? to the outside world to consume, so you can interact. Just like the same way these people are coming. If you go to your Teams today, you will see agents. If you click on agents, when you click on apps, you will see all of these agents. These agents, I didn't push them. Somebody has built it. They built it with either Microsoft Copilot, or they built it with AI Foundry, and they pushed it for us to be able to use it. So it does that answer your question?
Yes, it answered my question very well. Thank you.
All right then. Okay, so who else has a question? I guess who else has a question? It's been a very, let me see. Please, Miriam. I noticed my network users are experiencing the section your screen goes up. No, my screen did not go up, and there's no sound. No. It's your network. Okay. Can you please paste the link here? So we'll share the link with you in the group. I'll share all of the links with you. Miriam, I will give all of the links for Miriam to share with you. And then this recording also, you will have access to it. Thank you. Thank you, Ellie. Yeah, so yeah.
Please, there's just a question in the Q&A. I don't know if to put it here or you can just look at it. That's what I'm
Yeah, that's
missing.
what I'm looking at. Please, can you call it out for
Okay.
me? Maybe the one I missed out, please.
Yes. Does using this to build make me merely a consumer rather than someone actively developing the procedure through Python?
Okay. Using this, before now, we used to, all those pro developers used to make a lot of shakaras to us as if we do not know how to code. But when Microsoft did and say, well, everybody can build application for their environment today, and then they brought out Power Apps, it was a game changer for us. And again, when that one now came on top of it, they now brought out Copilot Studio. Oh God, that was a great change area. So you can liken yourself to a developer if you want. I mean, you can build, and then with a Python, like I said, what Microsoft has done is that they've made the platform available for the two people. So if you are someone that builds with Python, why not? Go ahead, go and use the AI Foundry, build, and then you are a developer. If you are one person that knows how to use Copilot Studio, go ahead and build, and then you are still a developer. The only difference is that what kind of developer is the two. One is a low code developer, the other one is a pro code developer. So, you know. So I don't know who asked that question, but if I did not answer your question, you can raise your hand and then I'll mute you and then I can throw more light on that if that was your question. But if I answered your question, please you can give me a thumbs up to know that your question was answered. All right. So thank you all for the time.